As we've seen in previous modules, it's crucial that we manage our use of natural capital to ensure that the ocean can sustain us for generations to come. So much OECS territory is ocean space, and ocean resources are so critical to the region's sustainable development, it's clear that it must be well governed to ensure continued benefits and ecosystem services. It is impossible to directly manage the natural environment. Instead, we control those human activities that cause impact to the environment so they can be carried out more sustainably. Ocean governance focuses on how we manage human activities in our marine space, internationally, regionally, and locally. Ocean governance includes policy, setting out the direction of travel, planning, considering where and when activities might occur and how to balance different interests, and management, regulation and control of specific activities. In this module, we consider the challenges of ocean governance for sustainable development and the multi-level policy framework which supports OECS countries. Good ocean governance should bring stakeholders together to identify and pursue shared goals and develop a shared vision. It should be ecosystem-based and integrated to understand the system as a whole. It should be based upon the best available knowledge and adapt over time as more is learned. It should be supported by partnerships, collaboration and cooperation. In addition to regulating and enforcing, voluntary approaches should also be encouraged.
It all starts with trying to get these people to understand that they have a vested interest in the resources and they have cultural attachments to those resources. So we don't want to have, in the process of protecting those resources, those cultural attachments are severed. So we've essentially started doing sensitizations with the different communities, stakeholders, and try to ensure that they know why we're protecting the resources. The intention is not to stop them from the traditional use of the area or prevent them from generating a livelihood. The objective is to ensure that their livelihoods continue to exist in the future. We don't want to have a situation where we continue to allow them to fish unsustainably, for example, and then we have their livelihoods coming to an abrupt end because there's no more fish for them to harvest. We want to ensure that they understand that our objective is to ensure that their livelihoods continue to exist.
It is widely accepted by governmental and intergovernmental institutions, industry and society that our oceans must be managed more sustainably. Whether this is through high-level intergovernmental approaches, such as the UN Sustainable Development Goals and better management of the high seas, national measures such as marine spatial planning, marine protected areas, effective fisheries management and control of land-based sources of marine pollution, or local actions such as community fisheries management or restoration of mangroves, the oceans are high on every policy agenda worldwide.
While we were benefiting from the ocean for several years, I do not think that we were necessarily thinking about sustainability, but with the coming of the blue economy, I think that we have to think about ourselves and we have to think about the future generations. It's just a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm shift in the way we manage the ocean in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is, we have to do it in a sustainable way.
There's work to be done. There are some challenges, yes, in changing from a sectoral approach of doing business to a whole governance, whole government, multi-sectoral implementation of ocean affairs. Over the years, we have evolved in working in sectors. Now we have to roll that back to the indivisible roles of oceans and its multiple subcomponents.
We're now going to look at ocean governance at 4 levels: internationally, regionally in the OECS, nationally at the level of our individual countries, and locally. There are many international agreements and conventions on ocean governance, reflecting the many human activities that use the oceans. The United Nations 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development came into force on the 1st of January 2016. This sets out 17 sustainable development goals to address global challenges including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace and justice. These include a specific goal for the ocean, SDG 14, with targets addressing fisheries management, marine protected areas, ocean acidification and marine litter. In islands in particular, the oceans underpin around 60% of the other SDGs, including environment, human rights, poverty, climate change and trade and investment. Addressing most of the SDGs in the OECS therefore requires ocean-related policies and actions at the regional and national level. There are several important regional ocean governance instruments in the OECS addressing environmental agreements, resource management, and a regional security system. The OECS heads of government have endorsed a regional policy framework, the Eastern Caribbean Regional Ocean Policy, or ECROP, that recognises the need to work in a coordinated way across the Caribbean region to ensure the sustainable management of the ocean as the basis for livelihoods, food security, and the blue economy.
So at the OECS, the sustainable ocean economy, or the blue economy, is delivered through the implementation of our Eastern Caribbean Regional Ocean Policy and Strategic Action Plan, otherwise called the ECROP. The ECROP is a document which was approved by the OECS authority, that's the heads of government, in 2013. It is the international best practice for regional cooperation on matters pertaining to oceans. It seeks to deliver in the areas of economic, environmental, and social sustainability.
The vision guiding the ECROP is the coastal and marine resources of the Eastern Caribbean are sustainably managed to optimise the potential of our natural capital to support a blue economy, ensure resilience and adaptation to climate impacts, protect and restore the marine ecosystems of the region, and nurture our natural and cultural heritage for the benefit of current and future generations. Under this vision, the ECROP sets out 8 outcomes which address topics such as security and surveillance, protecting the natural environment, supporting sustainable blue growth, increasing engagement from citizens in stewardship of the oceans, and adapting to climate change. The ECROP is accompanied by a 15-year strategic action plan which sets out how these outcomes will be enabled in the OECS. Within OECS countries, ocean governance already takes place. For example, managing fisheries, marine conservation, coastal zone management, development planning, tourism, safety at sea, customs, wastewater and pollution prevention and control. This operational management is covered in greater detail in Module 9. Sometimes different functions of government are focused more on one part of the system than another. For example, the Coast Guard will focus on at-sea compliance and enforcement, while planning control units will focus on the licensing of activities such as aquaculture through a set of consents and permissions. This is a problem when trying to understand the system as a whole, and different departments need to be better integrated to support a sustainable blue economy and meet regional and international commitments.
Environmental management, I should say, cannot be done by one department, by one ministry, because when we look at it in a general sense, when we look at the big picture, the environment affects everybody, right? So housing, health, fisheries, sports, everybody is involved in it, right?
At the national level, national ocean policies are being developed to support countries in implementing the ECROP. As of 2020, these have been written for Dominica, Grenada, St Kitts and Nevis, St Lucia and St Vincent and the Grenadines, and should be developed for other countries of the OECS. The NOPs provide an overarching framework for governments to understand how their activities in other areas such as shipping, conservation, fishing or climate change fit together in addressing the ECROP. An NOP must be integrated with other national policies, including climate adaptation policies and coastal zone management. This ensures effective integration between the land and the sea in a ridge-to-reef approach. There are examples of good integration being carried out locally, such as within the Soufriere Marine Management Area in St Lucia, where the interactions between tourists, local fishermen, water taxis, the dive industry, yachters, recreational users and the MPA are managed carefully. Within OECS nations, the challenges to delivering ocean governance are similar, as are the solutions. Collaboration must improve between sectors, institutions and stakeholders. Commitment is needed towards the implementation of international agreements to mainstream ocean governance into national sustainable development. Awareness on ocean governance must be improved across society, from the highest level of government to local communities. Capacity needs to be increased through training and financing for ocean governance, particularly considering other challenges, such as responding to crises like hurricanes. Globally, there is growing emphasis on the need for better ocean governance to address sustainable development. This has led to the SDGs and regional commitments, including the ECROP and NOPs at the country level. Within this strengthening policy framework, more is needed for countries to manage their oceans sustainably, particularly capacity, collaboration and commitment. In this module, we looked at how ocean governance underpins how we manage human activities in our marine space. It includes policy, which sets out our goals and ambitions for particular sectors of the environment, planning, which looks at where and when activities might occur and how to balance different policy goals, and management, the regulation and control of specific activities through licensing and permitting processes. In Module 8, we will explore how, by taking an overarching view of a nation's marine space, marine spatial planning helps understand what activities are happening and how these can be balanced to ensure that environmental health is maintained or improved.